You know that feeling, right? Your heart starts pounding, your palms get sweaty, all right before a huge exam? We've all been there. But what if the real reason test anxiety is messing with your grades isn't what you think at all? There's a surprising discovery that shows the real damage might be done way before you even walk into that exam room.
Okay, let's just be real for a second. Have you ever felt that knot just form in your stomach? That little wave of panic before a test? Doesn't matter if you're in high school, slogging through college finals, or even studying for a big professional certification, that feeling is pretty much universal.
But here's where it gets really interesting. New research is pointing to something else. It's not just about freezing up during the test. The real problem, the real damage from anxiety, might actually be happening way earlier, during your study sessions. It's basically sabotaging how you prepare.
To really get what's going on, first we need to introduce the hero of this story. There's this incredibly powerful study strategy that science has shown again and again is like a secret weapon for getting things to stick in your brain for the long haul.
Now, scientists have a fancy name for it, practice retrieval. But you and I, we probably just call it self-testing or quizzing yourself. It's the simple act of trying to pull information out of your memory. Think of it like a bicep curl for your brain. The more you force yourself to recall something, the stronger that memory gets. And the difference between actually doing this and not doing it is night and day. On one side, you've got active self-testing, using flashcards, doing practice questions, trying to explain the concept out loud to your dog. These things force your brain to work. On the other side, you have passive stuff, like rereading your notes or highlighting a textbook. It feels like you're doing something productive, but a lot of the time it just creates what psychologists call an illusion of knowing. You recognize the information, sure, but you can't actually pull it out of your head when you need it.
So, if self-testing is so great, what's the issue? Well, this is where our old friend test anxiety comes in and just throws a huge wrench in the works. It's like it's waging the secret war on our best study habits.
And this is the core question that researchers in a 2024 study wanted to figure out. They asked, what is the actual connection between that nervous, anxious feeling we get about a test and the study strategies we end up choosing?
And the finding was, well, it was crystal clear. After looking at hundreds of high school students, they found that, quote, test anxiety negatively predicted students' daily use of self-testing. Just let that sink in for a second. The more anxious a student felt about tests, the less likely they were to use the single best study method out there.
To put it another way, anxiety is basically a saboteur. It tricks your brain, it makes you avoid the discomfort of trying to remember something and realizing you can't, and instead, it pushes you toward the false comfort of just passively rereading. It makes us choose the easy, comfortable path, right when the challenging one is the only thing that's actually going to help.
And they proved it with this really clever experiment. They told one group of students they were just prepping for a low-stakes practice quiz. Their anxiety was lower, and guess what? They used self-testing more often. But when they told another group it was for a high-stakes, graded exam, bam, anxiety shot up, and the use of self-testing just plummeted. So you see, this isn't just a one-time bad decision. This avoidance thing actually creates this powerful negative feedback loop, a vicious cycle that can be really, really hard to break out of.
You can see exactly how this trap works. It all starts with a big, important test being announced. That triggers anxiety. That anxiety then makes you shy away from effective self-testing, and instead you just reread your notes. Because you're not as prepared, you get a lower score. And what does that do? It just proves to your brain that tests are scary and awful, which cranks up your anxiety even more for the next one. And the whole cycle just starts over again.
But listen, here is the good news. Seriously. Just understanding that this cycle exists is the single most important step to breaking it. This is how you take back control. And this right here is the biggest takeaway. The goal isn't to magically make yourself feel less anxious. We can't just flip a switch on our feelings. The real key is to shift your focus from the feeling you can't control, the anxiety, to the action you can control. And that's your choice of study strategy. You can choose to quiz yourself even when you're feeling anxious.
So, what does this actually look like? Well, first, you've got to reframe that anxious feeling. Don't see it as a sign to panic. See it as a signal, like an alarm bell reminding you to use your best strategies. The moment you feel it, that's your cue to intentionally grab your flashcards or do some practice questions. And hey, start small. Do some low-stakes quizzing just to prove to yourself that you can recall the info. That builds confidence, which in turn starts to chip away at the very anxiety that caused the problem in the first place.
So, this all leads us to one final, really important question. Now you know anxiety's secret trick. You know it tries to push you down the easy path of false comfort, which only leads to worse results. So, now that you're in on the secret, which path are you going to consciously choose before your next big test?